Miscalculations on security, exports and energy have created a storm in Europe's largest economy. The short explanation for Germany's current economic malaise is that it outsourced its security requirements to the US, its exports to China, and its energy security to Russia. Wolfgang Munchau, in his book Kaputt: The End of the German Miracle, claims the country's recent reversal has been brewing for decades. He attributes it to faulty assumptions about the global economy, corporate complacency, and chronic underinvestment in digital. But the security, exports, and energy explanation for Germany's stuttering economic performance remains a reasonable starting point. Germany was uniquely exposed to the higher cost of gas on global markets triggered by Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. This stems back to former German Chancellor Gerhard Schroeder, who drove the Nord Stream 2 pipeline project, deepening Germany's dependence on Russian gas. The high cost of energy has crippled Germany's energy-intensive manufacturing base, pushing the country into a recession. At an earlier point, Germany bet its export future on China, which initially paid off, but now finds itself outstripped by Chinese competitors. Germany now finds itself caught in the middle of a tense geopolitical standoff between the US and China. Newly installed German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has pledged to transform the nation's armed forces and revamp the struggling economy. The flagging German economy also appears to be driving a historic shift in the political landscape. Whether Germany's current downturn is indicative of a long-term trend is now a central question. Munchau believes it is. The automotive industry, once a pillar of German economic strength, has been hit hard by declining sales and increased competition from electric vehicle manufacturers. The steel industry, another cornerstone, is grappling with reduced demand and rising production costs. Retail has also seen a downturn, with consumer confidence plummeting and spending decreasing. Even the tech sector, which was expected to drive future growth, is facing challenges due to underinvestment and a lack of skilled labor. Initial signs of trouble were evident in the renewable energy sector, where ambitious projects have stalled due to regulatory hurdles and funding issues. The pharmaceutical industry, although robust, has not been immune to global supply chain disruptions and increased competition. Construction projects across the country have been delayed or halted, further signaling the cracks in Germany's economic facade. For decades following World War II, Germany relied on U.S. security guarantees. The presence of American troops became a cornerstone of German defense policy. This reliance led to complacency within German society. Defense spending fell below NATO targets. The Bundeswehr faced equipment shortages and training deficiencies. Germany believed peace in Europe was a given. The events of 2022 shattered this illusion. Russia's invasion of Ukraine exposed Germany's over-reliance on U.S. security. The Biden administration emphasized European responsibility for defense. This message sent shockwaves through German politics. Germany had to confront its military weakness. A new era of German responsibility began, demanding significant investment in its armed forces. Germany's economic success has long been predicated on its export-oriented model. Its cars, machinery, and high-tech products are in high demand around the world, driving economic growth and job creation. In recent decades, China had emerged as a particularly important market for German exports. The Chinese economic miracle, fueled by rapid industrialization and urbanization, created a seemingly insatiable appetite for German goods. German carmakers in particular benefited enormously from this surge in demand, establishing a dominant presence in the Chinese market. Yet this dependence on China also carried risks that became increasingly apparent as geopolitical tensions mounted. First, China's own industrial base was rapidly maturing. Chinese companies, once content to assemble products designed and engineered in the West, were becoming increasingly competitive in their own right. Companies like Huawei in telecommunications and BYD in electric vehicles emerged as serious challengers to established German giants. Second, the Chinese government under President Xi Jinping had adopted an increasingly assertive foreign policy, one that sought to challenge American dominance on the world stage. This assertiveness manifested itself in a range of areas, from trade disputes to military exercises in the South China Sea. Germany, caught between its economic interests in China and its security alliance with the United States, found itself in an increasingly precarious position. Trade statistics reveal the depth of this relationship. In 2020, China was Germany's largest trading partner for the fifth consecutive year, with bilateral trade reaching over 212 billion euros. Major partnerships include Volkswagen, which has multiple joint ventures in China, Siemens, which has a significant presence in the Chinese market, and BASF, which is investing heavily in Chinese chemical production. These partnerships underscore the mutual benefits and the complexities of the economic ties between Germany and China. Perhaps the most egregious example of Germany's strategic miscalculation was its growing dependence on Russian natural gas. For years, Germany had pursued a policy of Wandel durch Handel, change through trade, believing that closer economic ties with Russia would moderate Moscow's behavior and enhance European security. This policy led to the construction of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, a controversial project that would double the flow of natural gas directly from Russia to Germany, bypassing Ukraine and other Eastern European countries. The pipeline, championed by former Chancellor Gerhard Schroeder and supported by Angela Merkel, was seen by critics as a strategic blunder, one that would increase Germany's energy dependence on Russia and give Putin leverage over Europe. These warnings proved tragically prescient. Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022 exposed the folly of Germany's energy policy. The Nord Stream 2 pipeline, completed but not yet operational, was immediately halted, and Germany was forced to scramble to secure alternative sources of natural gas. The result was an energy crisis, with prices soaring to unprecedented levels and German industry facing the prospect of rationing and shutdowns. Politically, the Nord Stream project strained Germany's relationships with its European neighbors, who viewed the pipeline as a threat to their own energy security. Economically, the project highlighted the urgent need for Germany to diversify its energy sources and invest in renewable energy to ensure long-term stability and independence. Section 5. Major companies, a microcosm of German industrial woes. Volkswagen, Siemens, and Deutsche Bank, once symbols of German industrial might, have become microcosms of the challenges facing German industry. These companies have been grappling with factors that have eroded their profitability and threatened their long-term viability. Volkswagen was slow to adapt to the electric vehicle revolution, while Siemens faced challenges in transitioning to renewable energy technologies. While Tesla and other EV startups rapidly gained market share, Volkswagen remained heavily invested in diesel technology, and Siemens struggled to compete with nimble renewable energy startups. Volkswagen was still dealing with the fallout from the 2015 Dieselgate scandal, and Deutsche Bank was embroiled in numerous financial scandals. The Dieselgate scandal cost Volkswagen billions in fines and settlements, and severely damaged its reputation, while Deutsche Bank's legal troubles led to massive financial penalties and a tarnished image. Both companies faced significant legal and financial repercussions that hindered their growth. Volkswagen and Siemens, like other German manufacturers, were facing increasing competition from Chinese rivals. Chinese companies, benefiting from government support and lower labor costs, were rapidly gaining ground in the global market, including in Europe. Section 6. The geopolitical tightrope impact of US-China tensions on Germany. The rivalry between the United States and China has cast a long shadow over the global economy, creating uncertainty and forcing countries to choose sides. Germany, heavily reliant on both countries for trade and investment, has found itself caught in the middle, struggling to balance its economic interests with its geopolitical allegiances. On the one hand, Germany's economic prosperity is deeply intertwined with China, its largest trading partner. German companies have invested heavily in the Chinese market. On the other hand, Germany remains a steadfast ally of the United States, sharing its commitment to democracy, human rights, and the rules-based international order. The Biden administration, while seeking to repair relations with allies strained by the Trump years, has also maintained a tough stance on China, calling it America's most serious competitor. The Biden administration has continued to impose tariffs on Chinese goods and has sought to rally allies to counter what it sees as China's unfair trade practices and aggressive foreign policy. Germany, caught between these competing pressures, has sought to chart a middle course, arguing for dialogue and cooperation while also pushing back against Chinese behavior it deems unacceptable. This balancing act has become increasingly difficult to maintain, however, as US-China relations have continued to deteriorate. Specific industries in Germany, such as automotive and machinery, have been particularly affected by the tensions. The automotive sector, which relies heavily on exports to both the US and China, faces significant challenges. Economic forecasts for Germany have been revised downward, reflecting the uncertainty and potential disruptions in trade. Analysts warn that prolonged tensions could lead to a slowdown in growth and increased volatility in the markets. Section 7. A new era of reform, Merz's ambitious agenda. Friedrich Merz, the veteran politician who assumed the chancellorship in 2023, inherited an unenviable task: to steer Germany out of its economic malaise and restore its standing on the world stage. Merz, a conservative known for his pro-business stance and hawkish views on foreign policy, has embarked on an ambitious reform agenda aimed at revitalizing the German economy and strengthening its military. On the economic front, Merz has pledged to cut taxes, reduce bureaucracy, and encourage investment and entrepreneurship. Specific policies include lowering corporate tax rates to attract foreign investment and simplifying the tax code to ease the burden on small and medium-sized enterprises. He has also promised to invest heavily in infrastructure, with a focus on modernizing transportation networks and expanding renewable energy projects, particularly in digital infrastructure where Germany has lagged behind other advanced economies. Merz aims to roll out nationwide 5G coverage and enhance cybersecurity measures. On the military front, Merz has vowed to increase defense spending, modernize the Bundeswehr, and take a more assertive role in NATO. This includes acquiring new military equipment and enhancing Germany's rapid response capabilities. Merz's reforms, while ambitious, face significant challenges. The German economy, burdened by high energy costs, labor shortages, and supply chain disruptions, is likely to remain sluggish in the short term. However, Merz's policies are expected to lay the groundwork for long-term growth. Moreover, Merz's reform agenda has faced opposition from within his own coalition government, as well as from labor unions and environmental groups. Critics argue that his pro-business policies may exacerbate social inequalities and environmental degradation. Section 8. Structural problems and long-term challenges. A symptom of deeper malaise. The economic and social dislocations of recent years have highlighted deeper structural problems within Germany's economy. Germany's manufacturing sector, once the backbone of its economy, has faced significant challenges due to globalization, technological change, and competition from emerging markets. These issues have been compounded by demographic changes, with an aging population putting pressure on social services and the labor market. Long-term challenges such as the need for digital transformation, investment in infrastructure, and education reform have also been sources of concern. These structural problems have made it more difficult to form stable governing coalitions, and the political discourse has become more polarized, making it harder to address the country's challenges in a constructive manner. The sense of unease and uncertainty about the future is a symptom of these deeper issues, reflecting the need for comprehensive economic and social reforms. Section 9. Conclusion: an uncertain future for the German powerhouse. Germany, once a beacon of economic strength and stability, faces an uncertain future. The country's export-oriented economic model, long the engine of its prosperity, is under strain from multiple directions. The rise of China, both as an economic competitor and a geopolitical rival, has created challenges that Germany is ill-equipped to handle. The Russian invasion of Ukraine exposed the folly of Germany's energy policy, highlighting the dangers of over-reliance on a single supplier, especially one with a history of using energy as a weapon. Domestically, Germany is grappling with the social and political consequences of its economic woes, including a surge in support for far-right parties. The path forward for Germany is fraught with uncertainty. Friedrich Merz's reform agenda, while ambitious, faces significant obstacles, both domestically and internationally. The global economy is in a state of flux, buffeted by geopolitical tensions, supply chain disruptions, and the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Whether Germany can navigate these challenges and emerge from this period of turbulence with its economic strength and its social fabric intact remains to be seen. The outcome will have profound implications not only for Germany, but for Europe and the world. Experts suggest several potential scenarios for Germany's economic future. Some predict a slow recovery driven by innovation and diversification. Others believe that a shift towards renewable energy and technology could pave the way for a more sustainable and resilient economy. However, there are also concerns about a prolonged economic downturn if current challenges are not effectively addressed. International cooperation and strategic reforms will be crucial in determining which path Germany ultimately takes.